Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farmer. The UK is signaling continuity abroad while facing a very different kind of homecoming at home. Prime Minister Andy Burnham says the UK will not change course on supporting Ukraine. As CIA Director John Ratcliffe's unusual visit to Moscow fuels questions about Russia's next moves. Now to discuss it all, we're joined by Urszula Gacek, former Polish ambassador, Council of Europe. Good to have you with us.
Good day. Good to see you again, Sasha.
Likewise. So let's begin with the latest on Andy Burnham. We were kind of wondering about his foreign policy stance, his first trip abroad recently to the Ukraine, the only E3 leader present there in Kyiv. How significant is what he's stated already with also the Storm Shadow licensing for Ukraine? What does that tell us about the Prime Minister?
It's very significant. I can't remember a British Prime Minister, and there have been quite a few of them. I mean, he's the 7th in 10 years, so it's a kind of revolving door at 10 Downing Street at the moment. But for his first overseas visit to Ukraine is very, very significant. Maybe it's understandable. Brussels will wait. He has a summit very shortly. Washington, well, I think there's been a courtesy call, and he'll probably meet Trump on the margins of the UN General Assembly and probably later in the year at the G20, but Ukraine is key, and this was such a strong message. In your introduction, you mentioned that this was a continuity of Starmer's policies. Actually, I think he takes it to the next level.
Next level, interesting. I mean, it is something significant, as I said, with the Storm Shadow licensing. I mean, that's going to help Ukraine. I mean, they need much more. But at the same time, I mean, if we go also to the Coalition of the Willing, which he chaired when he was in Kyiv, let's see, you said the next level. So will this maybe prompt other allies to give more? I mean, he's already said that he wants allies in Europe to provide Ukraine with more air defense.
Indeed, he does. The Storm Shadow, I mean, let's be realistic. Giving Ukraine access to this technology is a long-term project. It's not as if Ukraine will be able to use this to its great advantage immediately. There's also a cooperation going in the other direction. In fact, the United Kingdom is benefiting because Ukraine has promised to give battlefield data to train AI models on how to defend themselves and identify Russian threats. So it's very concrete. It's not just talking, but actually it's providing very concrete examples of cooperation. And also, Burnham is keen to get outside of the format of the Coalition of the Willing. He's been very clear that he wants to talk to other NATO members significantly who have really not been pulling their weight as far as supporting Ukraine. Now, Ukraine is in this enviable position that Trump has been blowing hot and cold. He did promise much closer cooperation, even the possibility of production of Patriots, which he very quickly withdrew. We won't speculate whether he was pressured by Moscow or not, but that was very quickly withdrawn. And it is clear that the demand for those specific missiles is probably around 300 before the winter. So Burnham said people are going to have to dig deep, and it's not just a question of the United States on which Ukraine cannot really rely, but actually getting others very much involved. And so Britain, again, I think, is leading by example. Burnham has been very concentrated in his first few weeks on domestic policy, and that is understandable. It's the summer vacation, and his predecessor was criticized for not paying enough attention to some domestic issues at the beginning. But when it comes to foreign policy, very encouraging for our part of the world. Ukraine is very clear his focus. And this is in the face of, let's say, veiled threats coming from the Kremlin saying that Britain may well pay a price for this support.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, you said leading from the front, the next step up, providing even more to Ukraine if it can. I mean, exactly about those threats from the Kremlin, this has been noticed. So what should Britain do about that? I mean, what kind of escalation could we potentially see here? I mean, we've had that trip now by the head of the CIA in Moscow just this last few 48 hours. So what of those threats? I mean, how is he going to respond to that?
Well, the threats are specifically against locations where missiles are being produced on British territory. And these are quite veiled. I mean, it's not, Russia is not declaring war on the United Kingdom as a NATO member, let's be quite clear. But they have suggested that maybe untoward things will happen at some of these sites. You know, the Russians are expert in hybrid warfare, in cyber attacks. So I'm sure the United Kingdom is prepared for this kind of activity by Moscow, but I think it's nothing new. I think it's nothing new. The fact that Russia and the Kremlin was provoked enough to actually come out with this statement is interesting. But Burnham didn't flinch. He didn't flinch. He said, I am 100% committed to Ukraine. I want a just and fair peace. And that's it. He's not taking any nonsense from the Kremlin, which I really very much like to see, especially as this is the guy who was a mayor of Manchester for 3 times, and that happens to be my hometown.
All right, so pride there indeed. But I also want to ask you as well, if we're looking at NATO cumulatively as a whole, I mean, we know that Burnham is a supporter of Ukraine. I mean, we have also British personnel on the eastern flank, one of those battle group nations in the Baltics. So what is, from what we know at this point in time, what can we tell of his view of NATO? Are we going to see more engagement there? I mean, you alluded to it already with that visit to the United States. How much leverage could he potentially have over President Trump when they do potentially meet?
This is so unpredictable. You know, Trump is so unpredictable at the moment, and in some ways, I mean, Burnham knows the United States. His wife is American or American born, but also he has appointed a foreign secretary, a foreign minister, Ed Miliband, who has been quite vocal of his criticism of Trump. So it's not a smooth ride. It's not so obvious that that's going to be such a close relationship. You know, for decades, the United Kingdom prided itself on what it termed a special relationship with the United States. And I think that is realistically not the situation that the United Kingdom is in at the moment. As far as its commitment to NATO, well, they still have to hit their 3% target regarding defense spending. And you can imagine that this is great to commit to, but actually when Burnham is really pressed, he of course has to take into account the cost of living crisis in the United Kingdom, the problems he has with care of the elderly, the problems he has with, you know, energy prices back at home. So it is, so, you know, money doesn't grow on trees for governments, and the United Kingdom cannot run itself into a deficit indefinitely. So he has to make tough choices, and upping defense spending is one of them. In terms of, you know, per capita spending, actually the largest commitment recently in terms of per capita spending, surprisingly, is Denmark. They are very committed to Ukraine when you look at per capita spending on support of Ukraine. So we'll see. But he is clearly firmly for NATO. He's also clearly pro-European. He was a Remainer, although we can discuss his stance on maybe closer cooperation with Europe. But as far as NATO is concerned, serious commitment. And the United Kingdom has more to offer than just its industry. Remember, they have excellent intelligence. They have excellent listening stations for decades. This is something that is very, very valuable as well to access, for Ukraine to access these kind of assets too. Mm-hmm.
I want to just also now switch gears a little bit, come more into the kingdom, the United Kingdom, on a different front, a homecoming of Harry and Meghan, have returned to the UK, the Sussexes, as now private citizens after 6 years being abroad in the United States. So generally, I mean, what can we expect of that? I mean, what do we see in the British public of that move, and why is this such a significant, if at all, significant move?
I would not consider it to particularly be significant. They've made their Netflix series. They've cashed in, I think, on what was possible in the United States. The official reason is that they want their kids to be in the United Kingdom. Of course, the relationship between Harry and his brother, Prince of Wales, future king, is very strained. The relationship between the king himself and his younger son is also a difficult one. I expect that we will see them on the celebrity gossip pages, but in terms of making much of an impact on what Britons are really concerned about today, I don't think they're particularly interested. And in terms of if you really are a royal watcher, quite honestly, the level of public support that Prince William and the Prince and Princess of Wales have in the United Kingdom is, if you are a royal watcher and a royal supporter, is exceptionally, they're very, very favourably seen. So actually, Meghan and Harry's snipes at them, I don't think it's well received. They will continue to trade in on their celebrity status, but as having much of an impact on what the United Kingdom is interested in today, I don't really think so.
All right, and then I think we'll part there with the UK's really interest more so on Ukraine and I think European security. But thanks anyway for all of that. Really appreciate your time, Urszula Gacek, there, former Polish ambassador from the Council of Europe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. A pleasure to be on air with you again today.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.